Okay, well, thank you very much for coming along. It's a complete honour to be here, part of this fantastic day. We're going to be looking at this seminal dance track, as far as I'm concerned, Pacific 707. It came at a time when I was kind of growing up as a teenager, when it was the explosion of dance music, and there was kind of house music and hip hop, and it all kind of like melded into one. It was just an incredibly exciting time. And yeah, I think what we should do first is listen to the track. So let's look at some fun facts for this track. So it was released in 1989, so 27 years ago. As Matt said, it came out on ZTT, Trevor's label. The original members were Graham Massey, Martin Price and Gerald Simpson. And Gerald Simpson is also known as a guy called Gerald. He had his classic hit, Voodoo Ray, brilliant track. The writers are credited as 808 State and a guy called Gerald. Even though the version that came out on ZTT was Pacific 707, it was originally called Pacific State. And actually, apparently there are 42 different versions of it. I don't know how true that is, but pretty amazing. And it's got a very jazzy sound to it, which is kind of quite innovative, I think, at the time. And that's what part of that reason is the fact it's got this saxophone on it, which is actually played by Graham Massey. He had a bit of an instrumental background, and he jumped in the booth and played the top line at the end of the session. They cited this track by Marshall Jefferson, "Open Your Eyes," as a massive influence for the track. It was a big tune at the Hacienda at the time. Let's look at some of the instruments and machines that were used on Pacific 707. We've got the TR-909. Now, I'm sure everyone's fully aware of this drum machine. It is the house drum machine, recently re-released by Roland, TR-09. It's just pretty much just this drum machine on the track. Then we've got some synths. These are all synths that were very prominent at the time, the 80s. We've got the Roland D50. It's combined sample playback with digital synthesis called linear arithmetic synthesis. It's got a very kind of bright sound to it, used on a lot of pop records. Then we've got the Roland SH101. I've got one of these, one of my favourite all-time synths. It's a mono synth. And then the big brother, the Roland Juno 106, which is a 6-voice polyphonic synth. It's famous for its onboard stereo chorus effect. And this was actually used for the pad sound in Pacific 707. Then we've got some samplers, early days of samplers. It's got the Casio FZ1 sampler. This is what the pad sound was actually sampled into. And then there's also the Akai S900 as well, which obviously predated S1000 and later the S3000. So this is, these are kind of the early devices that were used. I mean, as far as digital audio recording, I mean, there was just really MIDI sequencing at the time. So you have to sort of imagine that all these things were being sequenced and then recorded down, bounced down afterwards. So that's the instruments. Let's just quickly, before we go on, talk about what a deconstruction is. It's basically where we take apart the elements of a track to fully understand them. It features very heavily in a course that I initially wrote for Point Blank, which is called EMC, Electronic Music Composition, where we have a full 8 weeks of teaching music theory right from square one, right from the first stages, and using just lots and lots of different tracks. And you can see this is it features in the Music Production Master Diploma online and in our new BA as well. I'm using Ableton Live here, Live 9. and also push 2, which is the controller for Ableton. Certainly, it's my favourite DAW. I mean, I use other ones as well, Logic, a little bit of Pro Tools here and there, but the main advantage that Live has got is the session view, which is the sort of the non-linear way of putting music together. So we can actually build up different sections or scenes and actually on the fly switch between them. So it's a sort of slightly different way of working to Logic, but it's got the arrange view as well. So I'm sure probably most of you are quite familiar with that. So yeah, I think we should start off by looking at the first key sound. Now these chords are major sevenths. Just to talk a little bit about music theory, we're not going to go too deep into this. Most popular music has a tonal center or a key. Something that Joel talked about is very important when you're recording vocals to know what the key of the track is. And it's based on any of the 12 available notes on the keyboard. So we've got our C here, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, the 12 different notes. So you can have a different key, 12 different keys. And then there are also scales, and there are 2 main scales. The major scale, the C major, and the minor scale. C major, it's got a kind of happy sound to it. C minor has got a minor, very sort of sad sound to it. And there's a formula to kind of actually learn those scales. It's basically to do with the distance between the notes on the keyboard. So we have this note, if we play this note, and the one that's adjacent to it, that's called one step or a semitone. If we go up again, we have this, it's 2 steps, and this is a tone. So we can basically work out the formula for a major scale. This is our root note. We have tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So that's how we can work it out. Now, looking at Pacific 707, the tonic or the key, the main kind of note that goes through the track is D. And what's interesting about this track is that it actually goes spots between the major and the minor. And so we have our D major scale, we've got 2 sharps, F sharp and a C sharp, and then we have the D minor scale, which has just got 1 flat, the B flat. Okay, now if we look at the chords are these: F major 7, G major 7, C major 7, and D major 7. But if we play those with the root or the tonic underneath, so when we're playing this one here, it's going to D major, but when we go up here it's like F major 7 over D, actually turning into a D minor 9. Now, like I said before, what happened is that they played the sound, this chord, on a Juno 106, and then just took that one chord and then put it into the sampler. So what ended up happening was that actually they were only playing one note, and this really harks back to that sound. There was a lot of that at the time where producers were taking a chord from a track, a sample, and then just playing it up and down the keyboard. So you had this real kind of, I call this the kind of human chord device, because I'm actually kind of doing it myself, and it's actually something that we look at in EMC. It's a really good way of actually learning chords, because if you can just learn a minor triad, which is that, and then just go play that minor chord up and down the scale, it's a really good way to kind of train yourself to actually remember how to play those chord shapes. So like I said, the major 7 is basically, this is F major 7 here. It's a stack of thirds. So we have the F, the A, and the C. If it was minor, then we just lower this to an A flat. And then we've got the 7 up here. We have a great thing on Ableton, which is the chord device, which is here. And I'm just going to turn it on. So with this, you can actually program in or dial in the notes above the first note you're playing, so it plays automatically. So all you have to do is just press the one note. So I'm just going to turn that on. There we go. There we go. So imagine that's coming from a Casio FZ1, but we're not actually having to do that. So I think we should record that in. So I'm going to put the metronome on, I'm going to put record quantize on, and we're going to play that in. Here we go. There we go. Right, so we're getting there. The next thing we're going to look at, this is a classic, another classic sample. It's the Loon Bird. Let's have a listen. There we go. Now, a very popular bird in the 80s, apparently, and especially in North America. And the way it came about was it actually was on disc 22 of the Emulator 2 library. And let's listen to it being played. Here we go. I'm going to let it play because there's another classic sound that you'll hear that we heard on the Marshall Jefferson track. There it is. As luck would have it, I sort of put a few feelers out because I wanted to get that sound. I didn't want to have to sample it, I just wanted to get that original sound. And lo and behold, someone actually gave it to me. And they'd actually just taken all the samples from that disc 22 and put them in their Akai. And I've got it here. There we go. So that is the original sound. And I've got it in a simpler, which is the basic Ableton sampler. And we can put some effects on that. You'll hear that in the original track. I've just got a ping pong delay. And then a reverb. So you can sort of emulate that kind of mountain range type sound. So what we can do now is actually record that in. So there we go, that's the track, pretty much. But no, it's not, because there are some other brilliant sounds in it. And we're going to look at the next one now. And I'm just going to play it to you. Here we go, that's this. Now, I basically tore my hair out over this sound. It's like, what is that? You know, is that just a preset on something? You know, I sort of slowed it right down. I was trying to analyse the frequencies, just trying to work out what it was. And I kind of gave up in the end. But then I thought, I know, I'm just going to see if Graham Massey's can tell me. So I just did a little tweet and I said, you know, how do you create this sound? I put the original sound onto SoundCloud, so it was a reference. And he was incredibly forthcoming, and he told me how he made it. So what it was the D50. And I've actually got a brilliant replica here of the D50. This is made by UVI. It's a D590S. And this is one of the sounds, the Dream Bells sound. Beautiful sound. So you're kind of thinking, well, that doesn't really sound like that particular sound. But what it was is that he did this. But even that is not exactly the same. So what I'll do is I'll record that in, and then I'll show you kind of what he did after that. So for this, I'm going to put the metronome back on, and I'm going to take the record quantize off, and let's record that into a clip. There we go. So if I just do that and open up piano roll, so you can see all the notes there. So the killer thing is if you highlight all of those and then bring up the quantize controls and you quantize that to 16ths, you get this. And that was the sound, which is amazing. And the other little great snippet of information that he gave me was that he actually recorded that down onto tape. I think it might have been part of another session, and he actually spliced that into the original track, which is why it's kind of, there's not an exact timing of when it comes in. So you have to imagine that's actually coming off tape. So just to sort of recreate that, I've got a bit of compression, a bit of glue compression and a saturator. There we go. So that's that sound. And if we just go back to the session mode now in Ableton, we can actually go from the two different scenes that we've got. And then, there we go. So, cool. So I think now we can start looking at some of the other elements. The drum kit is very important. So before I do that, I'm just going to copy some of these clips down so we can actually build up the sections. So I can do this really easily now from push. Just hold down the duplicate key and just copy these clips down. That's the Juno. And then we've got the Loon sample. There we go. And then just copy that down one more time. Yeah, we can then start looking at the drum machine. So, as I mentioned before, this is the TR909, and there are not that many of the sounds that are actually used. We've got this is the kick drum, we've got closed hi-hat, open hi-hat, we've got clap with some snare as well, just kind of buried underneath it, and then a ride cymbal as well. So let's put the record quantize back on, put the metronome back on, and there are two main patterns happening here. So we're going to record the first pattern in first. Cool, so that's the pattern. It sounds a little bit straight though. I mean, basically this is the record quantize is putting it into straight 16ths. And the original track has got much more of a kind of swung, bouncy feel to it. So I'm going to put that in now. If I just dial in swing amount, I don't know if the GoPro, I have to get my hand out of the way. The GoPro can actually see that. I'm going to put in 30%. And if I now hit quantize and let's just solo the track so you can hear it. Okay, so like I mentioned, there are two different drum parts, so I'm just going to duplicate this down here, and then let's just colour this. Okay, go back to note mode, and I'm going to just get rid of the snare and the clap. Let's put this in. There we go. Again, it's also quantized, it's a straight 16th, so we need to put the swing back on that. So if I just hit quantize again, there we go. Cool, so we're really getting somewhere now, bringing all the different parts. So yeah, let's just duplicate this down to the different scenes. Let's put that one down there and then that one down there. So then we can just go from this one to the straighter one. Okay, so next in line is the bassline. Now, this was an SH101, so I've recreated this just with the analog device, which is, basic subtractive synthesizer, and we've got a sawtooth wave and a square wave here, and it's also got this sub-oscillator, but fundamentally it's using the blues scale. So if I just bring up the keyboard, blues scale is this. If D minor blues is these notes. So if I just play that now, it's got that vibe to it. So I just kind of feel like I want to remain authentic to the original track. So in classic kind of Blue Peter fashion, I've actually kind of got the original bass line here. I transcribed it. Let's just have a listen. And you'll hear the variation. And then there's a second version of that as well, which is actually a little bit longer. Let's just open it up. Yeah, that's 4 bars long. So let's just listen to that now. So it's still got that kind of swing feel. And I think what we're starting to hear is like a lot of kind of syncopation. You know, it's got really kind of, it's just such a kind of groovy bass line. So yeah, let's just copy that down. Just going to duplicate that again 5 times. And there's a third bass line as well. So that one there. So let's just copy that over. There we go. Let's just play that. Okay, so the next thing to look at is the percussion. Now, I've got some percussion sounds here. Now, I originally thought, well, what was around at the time? Was there a TR-727? Because there was a TR-707, and which is a kind of sample-based drum machine, but there was a 727 as well, which had more percussion sounds. But I kind of matched up the sounds that were on the record, and then the TR-727 sounds. Maybe it wasn't even out yet. I'm not too sure, but I think it's much more likely that it came from their Akai sampler, and maybe they were just part of a kind of sample factory disc or something. Anyway, it's got this part. I'm gonna record that in now. And let's put this swing quantize on it. Cool, so let's just copy that down to, in fact, let's do it here. I'm almost kind of more used to doing this on push now. There we go. There's another part which comes in here, which is using these conga sounds. This is kind of building up to a breakdown section. So I've done this in Blue Peter fashion as well. There we go. And last but not least, then there's the percussion breakdown. And this is using all the sounds. We've got these kind of wood blocks, we've got cabasa, these are go-go's, and the congas as well. And if I actually kind of program that in, we'd probably be here all day. So I'm just going to play that to you now. Let's just solo that. Here we go. The conga builds into this section coming here. Okay, so you can see that like it's very interesting the amount of layers that are in this track, and how they're all working together really well, and how kind of important they are. And this, you know, yeah, I mean, it doesn't stop there, because we've got some more sounds, and we've got this sound here, which is a kind of Portamento Lead sound, and so I'll just play that over this section. Again, quite an improvised sound, so you can listen to what that sounds like. Let's just drag it over. Really syncopated. I think that's the great thing about this track, is it's got much more of a kind of live sound to it, especially obviously with the sax solo that's coming in, but it's got a real kind of live sound to it. And then finally there's this sound. Now this is quite interesting because it's a bit jarring, and the reason it's jarring is that the first note here, this B, is going against this B flat, which is in the D minor. Okay, so we're pretty much there now. We just have to look at this section here, where we have just like a pedal string. So let's record that in. And if we go back to the session view now, what happens in the original track? It does this. Okay, so before anyone puts their hand up and says, where's the sax? I haven't forgotten about the sax, because obviously that's a very important part of the track. So it's never easy to recreate sax sounds, have to say, but Native Instruments have sort of come to the rescue with their woodwind solo, I think which is part of Contact 5. It's all right. It's not amazing, but for illustrating the sax, and we can just imagine that it's actually Graham Massey playing that sound. So I'm just going to put record on there, and that's if you just you hold down record on here, and then the actual track, then it then allows you to kind of go to session view and play over the top. So this is a very simple part, and it's really just using that kind of D minor triad. So everything's in session view like this. On the fly I can just be flicking between the tracks, so it's sort of maybe kind of recreating how it was in the studio. Everything was kind of pattern based on the machine. So or they were using a kind of one of the kind of older Atari bass sequencers. And obviously what you can do now, once everything is in session mode, you can actually then record that into the arrangement view in Ableton. But yeah, thank you very much for listening.